They say weddings bring families together. That's not what happened. Not for me. Not on that quiet October afternoon in Napa Valley, surrounded by sunlight and champagne, where my brother was about to say I do under strings of white lights, and I was quietly being erased. My name is Oliver Bennett. I'm 31, a high school literature teacher. I live in Portland now, about 600 miles from the family I used to be a part of. The wedding invitation came by mail, no call, no warm-up, just a white envelope with cursive font and my name misspelled slightly. I almost didn't go. Honestly, I wish I hadn't. But there's a part of you, no matter how old you get, that still hopes your family will finally see you. That maybe this time, things will be different. That hope lasted until I arrived. The venue was a vineyard restaurant tucked into the hills. All stone patios, climbing ivy, and vintage lanterns. Inside, it smelled like jasmine and rosemary. The reception hall was already buzzing when I got there, people laughing softly, sipping their second round of rose. I nodded to a few distant relatives. They gave me vague smiles recognition without warmth. Then I walked up to the host table, where the seating chart was displayed. Rows of calligraphy, names I hadn't seen in years. Cousins, co-workers, family friends. I searched for mine. Nothing. I scanned again. Still nothing. I cleared my throat and leaned toward the young woman at the check-in. Oliver Bennett? I asked. Older brother of the groom. She glanced at the clipboard, then offered a thin smile. Oh yes, you're at table 42. She pointed. I turned my head and followed her gesture. It wasn't in the reception hall. Not even close. It was out near the service patio, a small square table crammed between the prep kitchen and a metal shelf of extra wine glasses. No cloth, no candle. Just a plastic name card folded like a guilty apology. Oliver B. A folding chair was crookedly angled beside it. On the other chair was a crate of cutlery. I stood there for a moment, not saying a word. Some part of me wanted to believe it was an error, a mistake someone would quickly fix, but I knew better. I'd known it since the day Ryan was born. He was the golden boy, the miracle kid, 4 years younger, charming, charismatic, always adored. He could crash a car into the mailbox and still be handed the keys to the better one. Me? I was the reminder that life was supposed to be practical. I was the first draft, the safe one, the background character. I looked around. Laughter echoed through the archways. Inside, Ryan was posing for pictures with a circle of groomsmen, his best friend's girlfriend, and even his personal trainer. People the first never met were standing beside him, all dressed in coordinated colors. I adjusted my tie, walked out to my little table, and sat down. The breeze carried laughter from inside, but here, near the clink of plates and the smell of roasted garlic, I might as well have been in another city. That was when I first realized they didn't forget me. They chose to put me here. Just as I reached for the untouched glass of warm water on my lonely table, I heard footsteps. They weren't hurried or apologetic. They were sharp, measured. A tall man appeared beside me, wearing a burgundy blazer and cologne that stung my eyes before he even opened his mouth. Well, this explains the mystery seat, he said, glancing around. I thought this was a vendor's break station. I looked up. His smile was fixed, not friendly. I'm Gregory Pierce, he continued, offering his hand. Father of the bride, and you must be Ryan's brother. I shook his hand. Oliver, he chuckled. Ah, the teacher from Oregon. Ryan said you'd be flying in. Didn't realize you were. Seated out here. He looked around again, lips twitching. Bit drafty, don't you think? I didn't answer. He leaned in slightly. Don't take it personally, he said. Big events like this, priorities have to be made. Not everyone fits in the frame. Then he straightened, gave me a wink, and walked back inside. And that was the moment something snapped, not loudly, not dramatically. It cracked, quietly, like a bone under pressure. I stayed at that table for 10 more minutes, watching people move from toast to toast, like a perfectly choreographed ballet. My father passed by once. He didn't stop. My mother caught my eye for a second, then turned her head. The music got louder, the night got colder, and then I stood up. Not angrily, not in protest, just ready. Not to fight, to end something. Something that should have ended a long time ago. You don't realize how quiet a party can feel until you're on the other side of the glass. Through the reception hall's tall French windows, the wedding looked perfect. Tables set in symmetrical rows under twinkling lights. Crystal glasses. Plates of duck confit and artisan greens. people clinking forks to glass stems, pausing to raise toasts, to laugh politely. But from where I stood alone, just past the patio heater and a forgotten mop bucket, it was theater, a stage play, and I'd been left behind the curtain. Not anymore. I took a deep breath, adjusted my jacket, and walked through the side doors into the main hall. Nobody noticed at first. Why would they? I wasn't dressed to be noticed. No pocket square, no one clinging to my arm, no one expecting a speech from me, but my steps had a rhythm. And sometimes silence follows confidence. By the time I reached the center of the room, heads were turning. I spotted Ryan by the cake table, champagne in hand, surrounded by his groomsmen and a circle of perfectly styled guests. My father, George, stood beside him, his gray hair slicked back, a hand resting casually on Ryan's shoulder like a coach with his MVP. My mother wasn't far. She was fussing over table flowers, smiling wide enough to split glass. I kept walking. "Ryan," I called, holding up the white plastic place card with my name scrawled in half-effort cursive. "Can we talk?" The chatter dropped to a murmur. He looked up, his smile slipping. "Oliver, hey, didn't see you come in. Everything okay?" I held out the card. "Table 42?" I said. "Next to the dishwasher station?" Ryan raised his eyebrows. "Oh, right. Sorry, the seating was tight. We had to make some last-minute shifts." "Shifts?" I echoed. "You mean assigning your brother a seat next to the prep kitchen while your college roommate's ex-girlfriend is center table?" A few heads turned sharply. Ryan gave a quick laugh. "Don't make it a thing, man. It's just a seat." "Is it?" I asked, lowering my voice. "Because this isn't the first time, is it?" I saw his eyes flick toward our father. George stepped in. "Oliver," he said in his calm, deep voice, the one he used when ending conversations, not starting them. "Let's not create drama. This is Ryan's big day." I turned to him. "It always is, isn't it?" A small gasp rippled from somewhere near the bride's party. "I drove 9 hours for this," I said, voice low but steady. I booked my own hotel, bought the expensive gift from the registry, dressed up, showed up because I thought maybe this time I'd be treated like I was part of the family. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "Come on, Oliver, you've been distant. You moved away. You barely come to holidays anymore." I stopped coming, I said, after years of being treated like a burden. Like, I was only invited because it would have looked bad not to. I turned to my mother now, her carefully curled hair trembling slightly as she looked at the floor. "And you," I said softly, "did you approve the seating chart?" She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. Then the doors opened again, and Gregory Pierce, the bride's father-in-law, reappeared. He raised an eyebrow, taking in the tension. "What's all this?" "Just clearing up a mix-up," I said, keeping my eyes on Ryan. Apparently, I'm not close enough to the groom to warrant a table with napkins. The sarcasm hit harder than I expected. Gregory let out a low whistle. Yikes. "Well, I'm just glad I didn't end up at the kids' table. You know how weddings are, do I?" I said, turning to him. "You told me earlier that not everyone fits in the frame. That's what you said, right?" He blinked, caught off guard. "That's right," I continued louder now. Gregory Pierce, the real estate tycoon from Sonoma, looked at me and said, "Not everyone fits in the frame." And now, here we are. Picture perfect, right? Silence. A few guests shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. Someone put down their fork. Gregory frowned. "Son, I think you've had a little too much." "I haven't had a drop," I said. "I'm just tired of smiling through insults." Ryan opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "I'm not doing this to ruin your day. I'm doing this because I'm done letting you pretend that what you've done to me is harmless." Then I did something I hadn't planned. I stepped onto the small platform near the DJ booth, where the best man had given his speech. I raised the place card in my hand. "This," I said to the room, "is where they thought I belonged. Not forgotten, not overlooked. Exiled." Now people were listening. Phones were out, eyes wide. But I'm not angry anymore. Because today made something very clear. I never stopped being part of this family. They just stopped treating me like I mattered. I looked at my brother, who looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. "I hope you enjoy your day. I hope your marriage brings you the kind of love I never got from this family." And then I walked off the stage, straight toward the exit, not storming, just done. Weddings are supposed to be full of applause, cheers, music. But after I stepped down from that tiny DJ platform, there was only stillness, like the air had turned to glass. I didn't run. I didn't look back. I just walked slow, steady toward the arched doors of the vineyard's main hall. It should have ended there, but pride rarely lets silence win. Oliver, a voice snapped behind me. I turned. It was Ryan, red in the face now, his tie loosened, eyes twitching with anger. What the hell are you doing? I didn't answer. You just embarrassed me in front of every client, colleague, and friend I've ever had. This is my wedding. I noticed, I said calmly. This isn't about you, he shouted, voice sharp enough to cut the strings of the violinists who had long stopped playing. I held his gaze. That's the problem, Ryan. It's never been about me. From the crowd, I saw people shifting uncomfortably, some staring in stunned silence, others whispering behind champagne glasses. Then came Gregory Pierce, the father of the bride, striding in like a man still trying to salvage his own reputation. What's going on now? He barked. Ryan spun toward him. Nothing. He's being dramatic. Gregory narrowed his eyes. Dramatic? Your brother just told the room you sat him outside like a busboy. Ryan opened his mouth, closed it. Gregory, I said quietly. You told me I didn't fit the frame. You said it loud enough for me to remember. His face flushed, but he recovered quickly. You misunderstood. I was joking. Were you? Because that's what they always say, right? That it's just a joke. Until someone like me refuses to laugh. The bride, Leah, entered the fray now. White dress flowing, eyes wide with panic. What is going on? She whispered to Gregory, clutching his arm. Gregory whispered something back, and her expression soured fast. This can't be happening right now, she hissed. Not today. Ryan turned to her, voice trembling. It's fine. It's Oliver. He's just bitter. That word, bitter, it echoed in my head like a slur. I took a slow step forward. You know what bitterness is? I asked. It's sweetness that sat too long in silence. My father, George, finally spoke, his tone heavy like gravel. Enough. Oliver, we've heard your feelings. You've made your point. Now sit down and stop this mess. I turned to him. No, because this isn't a mess I made. This is a mirror, and all I've done is hold it up. George stiffened. You've always done this, I said, not yelling, just speaking like it was the last time, made me the problem. Because I didn't play along. I didn't pretend the house wasn't burning. I didn't smile through being treated like I didn't belong. My mother now stood behind George, lips pressed into a thin white line, her mascara slightly smudged. Still, she said nothing. And then Gregory raised his voice again. This is a disaster. Leah, your husband needs to control this now. Control. That was the matchstick. What did you just say? I asked, slowly turning to face him again. You heard me, Gregory snapped. There are cameras here, business people, clients. This display is humiliating. Humiliating? I repeated. For whom? He took a step forward, jaw clenched. For all of us. I let out a short laugh. You think I humiliated you? You humiliated yourselves. All I did was sit down where you told me to, and now people weren't just listening. They were filming, phones pointed, lenses capturing everything Gregory didn't want preserved. He noticed. He stepped back. That's when Leah stepped forward. Her voice trembled. Oliver, whatever this is, please, we can talk after. Just not now. I looked at her. You mean after the flowers die, the guests leave, and the pictures are edited? She blinked. No, Leah. This right now is the only time it would ever matter. Then Gregory lost it. You're nothing but a jealous brat, he barked. You come here, freeload off your brother's wedding, and ruin the day because you didn't get a damn tablecloth? I blinked. That was the moment I knew he didn't understand. He never would. I didn't come here for a tablecloth, I said. I came here hoping stupidly that after years of being a ghost at my own family's table, I'd be acknowledged. And when that didn't happen, I added, my voice steel now, I realized something. I don't need your table. I'll build my own. A stunned silence followed. Then a murmur. Then, out of nowhere, a single clap. Soft. Measured. It came from a distant cousin, a girl I hadn't spoken to in years, then another clap, and another. A smattering of applause, not loud, but not sarcastic either. Ryan looked like he wanted to explode. My father looked like he wanted to disappear. And Gregory? He looked like a man who just realized the room was no longer his. I didn't need to say another word. I walked back toward the gift table. I spotted my present, an expensive bottle of aged scotch. I knew Ryan would appreciate. I picked it up. Ryan saw me. "What are you doing?" "I'm reclaiming what doesn't belong here anymore," I said. "You can figure out the toast without me." And with that, I turned, walked out the same door I'd entered from this time, not as a background character, but as the one who rewrote the script. The first sound I heard after walking out of the reception hall was the click of the oak doors swinging shut behind me. Then nothing, not even wind. Just the odd rustle of leaves from the vineyard trees and the low hum of someone dragging chairs from the cocktail patio. Somewhere behind the kitchen doors, metal trays clattered and someone cursed under their breath. Inside, I imagined the echo of my words still hanging in the chandelier-lit air, like smoke after a fire. I didn't look back. Not until I reached the edge of the gravel lot, my gift box under one arm and my name card still crumpled in my pocket. I'd made my point, and now the silence I'd long carried was no longer mine to bear. I figured that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 15 minutes later, as I stood beneath an old olive tree in the rear courtyard of the restaurant, trying to collect my breath, I heard a voice behind me. "Oliver." I turned. It was Leah, the bride. Her veil was off, her heels dangling from one hand, her expression raw. Not the poised, glossy smile she wore during the vows. This was something messier, realer. "I just wanted to know." She started, then faltered. "Did Ryan really seat you out here? On purpose?" I nodded slowly. "Your seating chart didn't forget me, Leah. It erased me." She winced. "I had no idea, I swear. I believe you," I said. "You don't know this family like I do." A pause stretched between us. Then she exhaled. It was wrong, all of it. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She stepped closer. "I heard Gregory yelling. I heard Ryan try to blame you. But I think I know now." Her eyes met mine. "That you weren't the one who wrecked anything today. You just tore the curtain down." I felt the weight of those words. They didn't change what had happened, but they offered something I hadn't expected: validation. She walked away shortly after, her white dress dragging softly behind her like an afterthought. I stayed there a while longer. Then I began walking to my car. I thought I was done. But as I reached for the driver's side door, my phone buzzed. It was a number I hadn't seen in months. "Dad." I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Oliver," he said. His voice was quieter than usual. He sounded tired. I saw everything. I said nothing. He let out a breath. I should have spoken up. I should have stopped it. Still, I said nothing. It's just, I didn't know how to handle it. You, Ryan, the expectations, the pressure, it was easier to let things slide than face the damage. "You let things slide so far," one finally said. I slid off the edge. There was a pause. "I'm sorry," he said. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was the first time in over a decade he'd admitted anything was his fault. "I know it won't fix what happened," he continued, "but I'm proud of you." That last part hit harder than I expected. "Not for today," he added, "but for surviving every day that came before it." We talked for another few minutes, not about the wedding, not about Ryan, just about life. He told me about how he'd been watching from the corner, how he'd frozen, ashamed. I told him I understood, but that understanding didn't mean I'd forget. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He just asked to try again. I hung up, sat in the driver's seat, and stared out at the soft, golden edge of the Vineyard Hills. For the first time that day, my hands didn't feel like they were shaking. Later that night, I got messages. From Ryan, "You ruined everything. I hope you're happy." I didn't reply. From Gregory Pierce, "You'll regret what you said about me." People talk, especially when they think you're unstable. I blocked him. From Leah, I left. I told Jason to cancel the honeymoon. "I need time to think." That one, I replied to, "You deserve honesty. Whatever you decide, do it for yourself, not for him." Oliver, the next morning, I woke up early, made coffee, and stood by the kitchen window of my small house in Portland. The gift I'd reclaimed sat unopened on my counter, still perfectly wrapped. I looked at it for a long moment. Then I picked it up, walked outside, and placed it in the donation bin near the community center. Someone else would appreciate it more. Someone else wouldn't expect love to come with a price tag. A week passed. No headlines, no apologies, no sudden revelations from the family, just quiet. And after what happened at the wedding, I welcomed it like an old friend. I went back to work, My students, blissfully unaware of Napa Valley scandals, handed in essays and asked for extensions. I walked the same path to school, brewed the same coffee, slept a little better. Then, on a Thursday evening, as the last of the autumn leaves clung to my fence, an envelope arrived. No name on the return address. I opened it slowly, cautious of another verbal landmine. Inside was a letter from Ryan. Oliver, I've been trying to figure out how to say this without sounding bitter or pathetic or both. I messed up. The truth is, I always envied how self-contained you were. You never asked for anything, never needed to be in the spotlight. It made me feel replaceable. So I made sure you stayed in the background. I thought it was harmless. I thought I deserved the attention. But now I see that you weren't silent because you were weak. You were silent because you were stronger than the rest of us. I'm sorry, I don't expect a reply, but I needed you to hear it. Ryan, I read it once, twice, folded it up and set it beside my sink. No tears, no victory dance, just a strange piece I hadn't known I needed. 2 days later, I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, Elijah, my cousin on my mom's side. We'd grown up together, built tree houses, fought over comic books, then drifted apart when our lives took wildly different turns. He'd been at the wedding. I remembered catching a glimpse of him near the bar, wide-eyed, sipping his drink as I walked out. Dude, he said, you broke the family internet. I laughed, for the first time in what felt like weeks. Seriously, he added. I've never seen so many people texting about place settings and emotional trauma in one group chat. I didn't mean to make a scene, I said. No, he replied. You meant to tell the truth. Something most of them have been too scared to do for years. We talked for an hour about our parents, about growing up under pressure, about how easy it is to lose yourself when everyone around you demands a performance. Before he hung up, he said something that stayed with me. You didn't ruin a wedding, Oliver. You started a reset. The next day, I got an email from someone unexpected, a journalism student who'd heard about the story through a secondhand guest and tracked me down. She wanted to do an interview. She said, there's something universal in what you did. Speaking up at a place where silence is expected, that's powerful. I almost declined. But then I thought, maybe it's time people heard what it really feels like to be pushed aside and finally decide you won't accept the corner seat anymore. The interview went viral, not because I was eloquent or dramatic, but because the headline was too familiar to too many people. The brother who stood up at a wedding and sat down at his own table. People wrote in. Strangers from all over. Messages filled my inbox. I've been the background sibling my whole life. I got sat near the kitchen too, literally. Thank you for saying what so many of us have swallowed. And among all those messages, one more arrived from my father. This time, handwritten. Son, I watched the interview. I saw the boy I raised and the man I should have seen a long time ago. You have every right not to forgive me, but I'm grateful you didn't let me bury the truth with silence. Dad, weeks passed. Then, months, I didn't return to family holidays. Not because I was angry anymore, but because I'd outgrown the need for a seat at their table. Instead, I built my own. I hosted my first Thanksgiving with some coworkers, 2 students who had nowhere to go, and Elijah, who brought a bottle of wine, and a new girlfriend who spent the whole night asking about my viral moment. At the end of the night, one of the students, 18, awkward, book smart, looked at me and asked, was it worth it? What you did? I thought about it for a moment. It didn't fix anything overnight, I said, but it gave me back my name. She nodded slowly, like she understood. And Ryan? I haven't spoken to him directly since the letter, but through the grapevine, I've heard things. He and Leah delayed the honeymoon. Counseling was mentioned. Leah took a break from work. Gregory? Apparently, he's been quieter at business events, wary of cameras and questions. And me? I kept teaching, kept writing, kept building a life where my voice didn't have to fight for space. I still have the crumpled place card, not out of spite, but as a reminder that sometimes the most important step you'll ever take is the one away from the room that never respected you. Because when you finally stand up, not for applause, not for revenge, but for truth, something powerful happens. You stop asking for a seat and start claiming the whole table.